This year, there have not been many crossovers that have left me excited. In fact, I'm more disappointed than anything else with a lot of the competitors right now in this class. I'm talking to you, Audi. I'm talking to you, BMW. I'm talking to you, Mercedes-Benz. But thankfully, we have the Genesis GV70. In fact, I'm so impressed with this vehicle, it is in the conversation for Car of the Year for Boston Autoblog. In today's video, we're going to go over the pros and cons that makes the GV70 a great choice in this market if you are looking at buying a luxury compact crossover. But we're also going to go over the cons that might hurt this vehicle in the long run in its market and also for this particular award. So if you're ready, then I'm ready. Now let's dive right into this video. Now, as always, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to McGovern Hyundai here in Danvers, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Genesis GV70. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Hyundai and Genesis inventory. It all begins with the exterior appearance for the 2026 Genesis GV70. It makes a great first impression in an overcrowded and oversaturated market. For one, you don't get this faux sporty design look out of the GV70. Instead, Genesis doubles down on being the posh, luxury, and upscale brand that they are trying to be in the 2020s. And in fact, I think they're actually doing that right now, looking at their lineup. Now, there is a minor cosmetic facelift for the 2026 model year with the headlight design. You have LED bezels now, which look pretty classy here for this vehicle. As you make your way over to the grille, a few things I want to point out. One, you don't get the honeycomb mesh grille look and no gloss black trim. That's one of the things I do like here about the GV70. It's refreshing, it has its own unique style, and Genesis is pushing very hard into that luxury aspect that some brands are moving away from right now. You're going to have functional side air curtains for better airflow and helping out with the overall aerodynamics for this vehicle when you are on the highway, helping out with that efficiency. And then you're going to have more functional air intakes for the lower portion of the front bumper, cooling off that 2.5 or 3.5 liter four-cylinder engine. Also, you will have some chrome accents here, at least for our model today, helping out with that more refined look for this vehicle. Now, since we have the Advance, you are going to have 19-inch alloy wheels. Of course, you can upgrade if you so desire. The 19s are more than capable here for this vehicle, and it also trims down on that road noise and harshness for the overall ride quality. Then making our way around to the back here, Genesis kept things simple. They didn't touch anything for the rear fascia. I love the signature LED light design here for the taillights that swoop around the final third of this model. Very Porsche Macan-like. Also, the sloping C-pillar. Now, we'll talk about all of that because that plays around with the cargo space and interior dimensions for the second row passengers, but at least aesthetically looks really good. You got the Genesis badge being written out on the liftgate. Very common now in this market. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, yes, Genesis loves using this cladding here. I'd like to see them change that, though, in future model years, and the grille design carries over from up front. But really, though, a great-looking crossover. It looks upscale, and best of all, it does look simple, too. In a market where a lot of brands are moving away from that for a futuristic look, Genesis is giving you something that looks upscale and also very, very modern. Then you hop inside the GV70, and to an extent, you become a bit delirious, maybe even delusional, because you start wondering, did I buy a Porsche? Did I buy a Maserati? Did I buy a Bentley? No, you didn't. The reality is that you didn't. But at $60,000, this blows away the competition. The type of styling that you have here for the interior, the technology, dashboard layout, even the seats, this is what you would expect out of a Mercedes-Benz, out of a BMW, out of an Audi. And right now, in the 2020s, all three brands are going backwards with their styling. They're going backwards with their technology, and Genesis is moving forward. And this right here is why the GV70 has been elevated and pushed into my Car of the Year conversation because of what you have here. Now, our model is the Advance, giving us leather trimmed seats that are heated and ventilated. We also have this really premium leather wrapped steering wheel. It feels really nice in the hands. Aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips. Also, no plastic paddle shifters. These are small things. These are small details that I really love here. That Genesis is focusing on the smaller things that a lot of their competitors have kind of forgotten about. Then you take a look at this digital gauge cluster and infotainment system in front of you. And the quality, the resolution, It's amazing. And best of all, some people will argue, oh, a Genesis is just a bit more expensive version of a Hyundai, of a Kia. No, not this time with this technology. Yes, you see some inspiration, some layouts that are similar to Hyundai and Kia, but this seems to be specific for Genesis only. And when you check out that digital gauge cluster, how in-depth it is, the fact you can customize it, then you take a look at that infotainment system, the way the resolution and quality is. This is all stuff you demand and desire out of an SUV coming in between 50 and 70 grand. Genesis has hit the nail on the head here. For the rest of the interior, it's a nice ergonomic design, a fighter jet-like cockpit. While some people might not like the touch-sensitive icons because they'd rather have physical buttons, the layout is very clean. So you will have quick access icons for that infotainment system, your seek and track, and physical dials for the volume and tuning. The same goes for your dual zone climate control. So you will have touch-sensitive icons for the AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, fan direction, heated and ventilated seats if equipped, and also your heated steering wheel. Then there's physical dials for the dual zone climate control up front. Love to see it. Center console for our model, this nice brushed aluminum look, which is going to be easy to clean, but also very classy. This is stuff you wouldn't find out of a vehicle in this market at around 60 grand. You're going to have your drive mode selector, a dial that helps you control that infotainment system, so dual functionality. If you don't want to reach for that screen, you don't have to. Then your gear selector as well. Wireless switching pad, if equipped, deep center storage compartment for some smaller items. Then for our model, we have a panoramic moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. It has it all. The best of all, though, is how Genesis shaped and molded this interior. The fact that it wraps around you, the fact that it looks like an $80,000 crossover. This is what has made a huge impression on me checking this vehicle out in 2025, because this right here, we don't see enough of right now in the luxury compact crossover market. Then one of my biggest selling points for the 2026 Genesis GV70, and I'm very adamant about this, is the powertrain options, but more specifically for the 2.5. I think it's all you really need here out of this model. With the 2.5, you get a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 300 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is quick shifting and I think pretty smooth here in this competitive class. To put this into perspective, out of this 2.5, it's more powerful on paper than the BMW X3, Mercedes-Benz GLC, and Audi Q5. So if you're looking for a fun daily driver that's not going to set the world on fire when it comes to 0 to 60 times, but you want a quick vehicle where you can enter highways and pass over drivers efficiently, you can do so here with the 2.5. But what about that 3.5? Well, if the 2.5 isn't enough for you, with the 3.5, you get a twin turbocharged V6 engine, producing 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. Still paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and obviously all-wheel drive is going to give you some better year-end capability and versatility. One thing I want you guys to keep in mind here, though, whether you go with 2.5 or 3.5, this crossover is tuned primarily for luxury, not so much like a Volvo XC60 or Lexus RX or NX, but it's still not going to be as sporty as, say, an Audi SQ5 or a Porsche Macan. So if you're looking for a vehicle that can hug the corners on a winding back road, the GV70 might not be the choice for you. However, in a straight line and for a daily driver, these two powertrains are phenomenal here for this compact crossover. And then the last pro here for the GV70 is probably the most important, is the great overall value out of this crossover. On the lower end, you're paying right around $50,000. For our model, close to 60 grand with the 2.5. Now, like we talked about before, out of this powertrain, more powerful than the German competitors. I also think it might be a bit more luxurious than those German competitors as well. Something that we wouldn't have talked about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. On the higher end, with the 3.5, you're paying right around $64,000 to $71,000, depending on trim. Now, that's right in line with an Audi SQ5, Mercedes-Benz GLC 43, and BMW X3 M50. When we get to those models, that's where the GV70 kind of falls off. And this leads me into the cons, where it's not going to be as sports-oriented or as sports-tuned. Now, for a lot of you, this is not going to be too much of a make-or-break deal. But if you're looking for a fun daily driver, if you're looking for a fun luxury crossover when it comes to the lateral movement, the handling, the steering input, you're not going to find that at the GV70. That's the one thing I'm going to say you might want to look elsewhere. But when you're looking at the overall value, that's where you can go go back and forth and say, you know what, I think the Genesis GV70 is the right choice for me, especially at around $55,000. And then lastly out of the GV70 is going to be the fact that it's not as practical as some of its closest rivals, more specifically for the second row seats. You're looking at right on 37 inches of legroom. That falls behind a lot of rivals in this class. Cargo room wise though, that's actually right in line with a lot of competitors such as the Mercedes-Benz GLC, Audi Q5, and BMW X3. But it's going to be the legroom that might hurt this vehicle if you have a larger family. If you have tall passengers sitting in the second row, they will be cramped and claustrophobic, especially with the panoramic moonroof. In my eyes, the GV70 is a Korean Porsche Macan, Alfa Romeo Stelvio, probably closer in line to a Mercedes-Benz GLC. But when you look at what you're paying for, when you take a look at the classy driving environment, even the upscale design for the exterior, this is what Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi should be doing, and they're not. So the pros most certainly outweigh the cons, but with the cons, the fact that it's not as laterally inclined as some rivals and that it's just a bit smaller might hurt this vehicle in the long run and also in this market. But when I look at what this vehicle is offering me at its price point, even at $60,000 for this crossover, it's one heck of a deal. It's one heck of a value. And why, for me, it's one of the best crossovers I have featured this year for 2025. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. More nominees will be named in the upcoming days. Let me know what you think is going to be on this list for the 2025 Boston Auto Blog Car of the Year Award. But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.